So in a roundabout way, now I'm getting to the actual answer to the question itself. And for those that may have gotten lost, the question is, what does the art of our time need to look like? What does it need to express? And in this time, I believe art should make reference to the counterforce and contain images within images to demonstrate that things may not be what they appear to be at a glance. But if they're studied, they'll reveal a new truth. Art of this time must show that the future is unwritten and the past is as uncertain as the future. Predicting the future is sometimes easier than determining the truth of the past. In fact, we rely on the same markers to make judgments about the river of time that flows in both directions. Nature has an ebb and flow. Nature exists of cycles, of creation and destruction. Good and evil are real forces with real influence and impact. Moral or immoral deeds reach out far beyond material objects we can perceive with our limited senses, our limited and crippled senses. Our actions, our deeds, are spiritual in nature. Every action is spiritual in nature, and they reach out into time and into space. They reach out across the multi-dimensional spheres. They reach out into the furthest reaches of the universe. And the important thing is that we're all connected through those deeds, through that spiritual force, across time, across space, multi-dimensionally, and into the depths of the universe. The important thing to realize is that we're all connected through our actions and deeds, through our spiritual battle between good and evil. And what I had not realized before, and have only recently come to realize, is that it's conscience. Conscience has entered my mind with mantra-like strength. When I think of things, when I think of deeds, when I think of what I'm going to do, or what I have done, or the people that I see, I'm aware of conscience. I'm aware now of the things that having conscience brings to you as a force of spirit, of accessing your own conscience in the way that you perform your deeds. And conscience being not only ergo cognito sum, I think, therefore I am, but the realization that conscience is the very connection to your morality. It's the moral framework that you have, that you're taught, that you learn, but very rarely do we ever regard. And if you begin to regard conscience, you begin to regard conscience as much as you can regard the conscience or knowledge or being conscious of oneself with conscience in the way that you perform your actions and deeds. It has a very spiritual nature. I cannot take credit for that realization, that conscience realization. This has been something that's been impressed upon me by my friend and who I consider a professor, a great teacher, h.thomas Ackerman, the artist that has posited this question and is working on broken symmetries. Many, many, many times he's reinforced the idea of conscience. And I'm so stubborn, I suppose, it takes a little while for me to get it, for me to really understand it. But the more I saw him refer to conscience and respond to things with the idea of conscience, it really awakened something in my mind where I was able to look towards conscience as a guide to help me understand how to look at the world, analyze things, make better decisions, and feel more of a connectivity to other people. There's never going to be a perfect governmental system. There's never going to be a perfect economic system. if you look to these constructs, if you surrender your own personal sovereignty to constructs to make you play by the rules, or you have to play by the rules, or you feel like you need rules to guide you in everything that you do, that it would be pure chaos, it would be pure pandemonium without rules, without some authority, without some superstructure. We would all be so ignorant and so lost. But if conscience is employed, if a real meditation on morality is employed, and self-sovereignty is exercised, a combination of understanding self-sovereignty and utilizing conscience is the way to make almost virtually any system work. For any system to work, it needs to be based on morality. It needs to be based on one's awareness of conscience, of doing the right thing. Some systems work better than others, of course, but for any system to work well, the best system is always going to be one that employs or has a foundation in people who are conscientious, who are aware of the things that are moral and the things that are right and wrong, and that exercise conscience above all other considerations, material and otherwise. Now, in this, I'm not really bringing anything new to the conversation, because this is something that h.thomas Ackerman has been exploring in his art for a long time, or as long as I've been following him, and consistently reinforcing it to the point where I began to understand it. So I'm not really bringing anything new to the conversation here, and I would highly encourage you to go and visit his channel to get a grasp on what he's talking about when he explores conscience, because he's been a person that's been exploring the idea of conscience far longer than I have. I just wanted to reinforce the point that that is a very important aspect of art that needs to be part of art in our time. I've also enjoyed his explorations into what is truth and what is reality, what the nature of reality is. In the age of deception, it's very difficult to find truth, and we've been lied to so much. And many of his works refer to the age of deception and calls to light some of the authoritarian structures and the lies that we've all been told. So again, I would highly encourage you to go over and take a look at his channel so you can explore those ideas that he's explored to a much greater degree of depth than I have. And now that the homage has been paid to the ideas that were not mine in some of the things that are very critical to express in art in our time, whether it be truth in the age of deception and discernment about what is real alongside conscience, I'll move along more to my perspective on what art needs to represent in our time. Now, 9/10 of reality is all in perspective. You know, some unwitting creators believe nuclear power would be the end to our expanding energy needs. You know, it would end wars over oil. It would take the men out of coal mines. But those inventors, they could not foresee that the future people would not use this technology responsibly. Evil, like greed, would cause people to construct these facilities cheaply. They would run them beyond the point of the point which they were designed to run. They would refuse to take responsibility for the hazardous byproducts, and they'd create those nuclear weapons that I spoke of earlier, spreading those depleted uranium shells all over war zones, killing friend and foe alike, poisoning the land, killing future generations and innocent civilians. Technology is not inherently good or evil, but it's the spirit of mankind that imbues technological creations with a good or an evil force. I mean, even the common rock can be fashioned into a tool that can be used to increase food output, or, to be a bit macabre, it can be used to bash the brains in of a sleeping infant. Nothing has to be rushed. Time is a natural property, but the division of it, that was an invention of man. Mankind must be able to divorce himself from his own creations and observe natural law in order to integrate his inventions in a way that they can coexist while improving the quality of life. Man must learn not to become a slave to his own constructs. A return to spiritualism, understanding the mysteries, recognizing that wisdom is an expansion of your awareness, that the more you learn, the less you really know. Art in this time should help us to see the world as a magical place where science is nothing more than a process, not a dogma, where we can cast aside the shackles of authoritarian systems and accept personal sovereignty as the supreme law, supplicant only to the Word of God. Understanding that the spiritual force connects us all, that the Supreme Creator, the Most High God, created and imbued life with the spiritual force. That spiritual force connects us to God, connects us with each other, connects us to nature. Understanding that the spirit of the crow, of the dog, of the oak, of the rock, of the homeless man or the stumbling drunk, it's actually an extension of your own spirit. All things in creation are connected. Even the religion of scientism cannot deny the simple fact that the correlation is creation. The ultimate objective is to overcome the obstacles that challenge us on the material plane, to reconnect with the continuity that is stripped from us at birth, as our spirits adapt to an entirely new structure. And although life has its challenges, it also has pleasures and sensations beyond compare. A cold glass of water consumed on a hot day, the scent of rain on the wind, the vibrancy of an orchid in bloom, the brightness and energy of a night with a full moon, barefoot wading through shallow water in the Gulf of Mexico, the pleasant, radiant heat of a wood fire on a chill autumn night, a song sung from a joyous voice, the love of a faithful companion, the smell of freshly cut grass, the thrill of invention, the excitement of discovery, and of finding new friends. Humanity has a remarkable penchant for survival. Adaptation is one of our greatest strengths. Where some see killer robots, I see capable machines that may be able to decommission these aging nuclear plants. Our reality is a spiritual existence, exercised through personal sovereignty that should never be surrendered. It cannot be accepted that you will trade your ethical values for material gains. You cannot render your responsibility for killing a man under the authority of a state. No pope, no priest can absolve you from your sins. If you must, render the things of Caesar unto Caesar. Hold fast to your convictions. Never surrender your personal sovereignty. Fate may guide you. Nature may dictate your circumstance, but the responsibility of your actions rests with you. Simply because you may have avoided a punishment for a misdeed or succeeded in passing off a lie, even perhaps materially benefiting from the immoral, something much greater has been lost. In performing immoral deeds, you besmirch your spirit. You sully the one thing that is yours and truly yours, in life and in death. The spirit you carry with you, when stripped of all other things, and you've exchanged that cleanliness for fleeting pleasures or material possessions that even time regards as dust. Art of this age must teach us to look closely to discover more. Art should provide a warning and inspire the beholder. The future is unwritten. just as the true past is unknown. Art should make us aware of the material, while enlightening us to the continuity and connectivity of the ethereal. Art of our time must be obvious on the surface because our recent history has discouraged critical thinking, but those who have been initiated into the post-ignorance movement, those who look closely at the ethereal and the esoteric, those that have been initiated, in a sense, to the power of conscience, will see something more. Art of our time desperately needs to reinforce the battle of good versus evil, the dangers of technology misuse, the hazards of becoming slaves to our own constructions, and the absolute necessity of retaining your own personal sovereignty.